Well, we're going to start, and here I am with an interview. As you know, I do survivor interviews with lots of people I've met over the years, and here's somebody I've known for a while,
Hmm.
Steve wrongpop Clarke. I'll ask him why he's called wrongpop in a minute. But as you know, some of the stories are extreme cancer, right? Extreme, very, very lucky to still be alive cancer, and this is one of them because Steve wrongpop, there, as you can see, was probably the illest person I've known who's still here, because he went through the mill. But we're going to talk about it, and hopefully, somebody might watch this who's gone in the future goes through stem cell and all of that gubbins and take some inspiration from it. So, Steve, I know you're originally from Stoke
I am.
and you went to London, and that, where are you now?
So I'm living with my girlfriend in Quito in Ecuador in South
Right.
America. So from Stoke in the Midlands down to London, and then obviously with the cancer and everything, and now, yeah, I'm living in Ecuador. Who'd have thunk it?
How did you get to Ecuador?
I got a plane.
Obviously.
No, but well, this is the thing. So because of this near-death experience that you've mentioned and stuff, I decided to go traveling 2023, 24. So I just decided to go to Brazil. I wanted to match a certain amount of days that I spent in hospital, which we'll obviously get to when I was sick. And then, so I did all of South America and I really fell in love with Ecuador. So traveled for a while, went back to London, um, didn't like it anymore. And then I thought, what the hell, I'll come back out. And I've been in Ecuador now since October last year. Like I say, I'm living with my girlfriend, Carrie, at the moment. And yeah, so I go back to London in July to sort out some visa stuff. And the plan is in 2026 to live in South America now.
Right.
But this is because of the cancer and everything. Yeah, exactly. So all of this is pretty much because of the cancer and the stem cell transplant. And like you say, it was when you say close to death, I think it was 2 weeks that they gave me. But we'll get to all of this and stuff. But yeah, so I've known you for
Yeah,
yeah.
2000. So, all right then. So when when was your first cancer? How did it come about? Did you do the usual fine lumps and stuff? Tell us how you first found your testicular cancer, your diagnosis, what you
Hmm.
were told, what the outcome would be, and where were you, obviously.
So I was down in London at the time, Southeast London, um, and I found a lump. So this all happened very quickly. I found a lump in my testicles on a Monday morning during a shower.
Right.
But that didn't feel right. There weren't any other symptoms or anything. I called the GP that afternoon. 2 days later, I went to my GP, dropped my pants. He checked my testicles and was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to refer you to King's College, Denmark Hill in London." I was like, "Okay, this is happening quite quickly." On the Friday, which is May 16th, 2014, the ultrasound scan, the cold jelly on the balls and everything,
Oh yeah.
feeling uncomfortable, looking at the scans, calling a lot of people in, and I'm just there, legs akimbo and all that, and people are looking there like, oh my god. So I was diagnosed with testicular cancer on the Friday. So 4 days later, and because of the size of the lump, I think it was a seminoma stage. So it was stage three. I was diagnosed with at the time. They actually told me that they would have to remove the tumor literally on the Monday after. So 2 days later, I went to the GP. 2 days later, after that, I was in hospital having scans of bloods. As you know, my tumor markers were through the roof. And on the Monday, they whipped it out. But basically, that week, I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't tell anyone. My partner at the time, she was away as well. So I actually went to the hospital on my own, which in hindsight, I wish someone had come with me because when they told me, that C word, you know this yourself, you've had it a couple of times yourself too. Oh, even just thinking about it now, it's like
Yeah.
10 years ago. It scares the hell out of you. I'm trying not to swear, by the way.
So do it you like.
Yeah, but yeah, I was really scared. I told my partner on the Saturday. She came back from like a work trip, and so then I was just like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do now?" So within 1 week of finding a lump, they'd removed the testicle. The tumor was pretty big, and like I say, I didn't feel any symptoms or anything. Is when you're diagnosed with that kind of cancer, it's like, "Oh, I'm feeling pretty good actually." And when they sit you down, they were like, oh, well, if you're going to get testicular cancer, it's one of the easiest ones. It's a 95% survival rate. It's in this particular age group because I was actually 36,
Right.
7 when I was diagnosed. So from there, you're in for chemo, which is the good old BEP chemo that I
Love.
had. And I was actually watching, like I say, I was watching the interviews that you've done with Ryan, a good friend, and Ed Solly as well. And you talked about those injections that you have to give yourself every day. I can't remember what they're called, but I think they're for the neutrophils, every day in the stomach. So
Well,
it
they're
was
called new blaster. New. I can't say long words. New blaster in the stomach. Yeah.
and so many things that come along with it, like the side effects and everything. But that was another thing because that made your bones hurt like hell, and other things like the side effects. So it was,
Like a
yeah, it
dead.
was.
Sorry, it was like a dead leg that wouldn't go away, wouldn't it? That those injections.
I remember rolling around on the floor like it's like this is horrible. Oh, I hate this. And so yeah, I went to Guy's and St. Thomas's for a round of BEP, which is, as you know, the first of many many chemos that I had. So usually a lot of people would go onto Google and search things, and I would highly recommend not to do that. But I really needed to talk to people. I really felt alone. Me and my partner both felt alone because the other thing you have to do after that is tell friends and family. You make the call, hey, how's it going? And you're like, well, and the C word comes out, and whatever stage of cancer it is, wherever the cancer is, it's never nice to tell friends and family that. So I was really lost. So I was looking on Facebook. I thought maybe there's someone I can talk to. And that's when I came across, as you were called at the time, Checkham Lads.
Check 'em out.
And it was through like I met like someone online, Ed Solly, and he recommended the group, and that's when I reached out to you guys. And I think I just posted like on the forum or whatever it was in your group. I was like, "Hi, my name's Steve. I've just been diagnosed with stage 3 testicular cancer. I've just had it removed. I'm about to have chemo. I'm absolutely shitting myself. I don't know what to do. I really need to talk to people."
Yeah.
And, and through your group, I was chatting to Ed Solly. I was chatting to Mick. There's so many people like the Couchman twins and Ryan. Everybody was suddenly messaging me, and that was really good. There were people who had been through cancer, going through cancer, people in remission, even relatives of those going through cancer were there for my partner Lorna at the time as well. So your group was very invaluable to me, and Mr. Ed Solly
Super
actually
red.
accompanied me. Yeah, he came to my first chemo because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything. Obviously, you tubed up and everything, and he came and sat down, and I was really calm, and we just talked about, I think it was just like movies and like normal things because I was so scared having my first dose of BEP chemo. And he came to a couple of those. He checked in, and then you reached out to me personally, as you do with so many people, and then we got chatting and stuff. And I never felt so seen by that charity. So of course now you're Testicular Cancer UK and that, but I'll say this many times, and I've told you in person too, because we met a few times afterwards. But you're an absolute legend, sir, and you guys really helped me going through that. So
Look, this is, yeah. I appreciate it, but this is about you. Come on.
yeah,
You're the let mate.
well,
Look, to me, you are a legend for what you went through. Trust me.
I'm surprised. Well, a lot of people were during that time that are still here because the whole thing I think was before I came out of hospital. It was around 14 months. So I had the BEP chemo. There were actually some complications with the bleomycin, I think it is, the B and the BEP, because it affects your breathing and stuff. So they took that out, had the chemo. Me and my partner Lorna went back in, as you know, multiple checkups and everything. They were sitting there side by side. And if there's anything that I've noticed, as amazing doctors and nurses are, they'd be pretty crap at poker because their face just tells you everything straight away. You sit down
Yeah.
and you're like, you know what hand you're being dealt. So we sit down and it's like, okay, so the tumor markers are still high. We need to do more chemo. I was like, oh shit, okay. So now, obviously, with the side effects, you've got the vomiting and diarrhea. You feel sick. You're losing weight. Your bones are hurting from the injections. There's a thing that a lot of people actually had it as well. They don't. It was like chemo brain. You know, when you get that whole fog, you can't think straight. Your memory's crap and everything, and all of a sudden, I just felt sick all the time. And I think that's down to the fact that the chemo doesn't just go for the cancer; it goes for you. It goes for everything else, and sometimes the side effects make you feel worse than the actual cancer, as far as I'm concerned. So back in for more chemo. This is still at Guy's and St. Thomas's at the time, and by that point you feel like a bit of a chemo veteran. You're going in, you know all the nurses. It's like, okay, let's do this. And obviously I wasn't working at the time, so Lorna, bless her, she was by my side throughout the whole thing, trying to pay the bills and everything. Actually, a landlady at the time upped our rent. So it was really hard times. But during this time, I was chatting with you guys, and then obviously Nick O'Hara Smith, bless him.
Rest in peace,
Um,
mate.
yeah, like so many people, I made so many friends. And during the time I was having chemo as well, there's a lifelong friend I have now called Mike from Australia. I don't know if you remember, but he was a guy going through stuff too, and so we would message each other while we were having chemo and stuff. And it was just nice to know that you weren't alone. Obviously, it's not nice that other people go through this thing, but like chatting with you, and I think we met a couple of times up in Hoyle Lake because my partner at the time, her parents were up there. I
Oh,
met you in the
sorry,
winter.
yeah, she lived up,
Yeah,
not near me, didn't she? On the beach, near the beach.
yeah, yeah,
Behind the famous golf course, wasn't it?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Liverpool golf course,
Posh
yeah.
part of the Whizzle.
Very posh.
We met a lot of times. Yeah, very posh. I actually called it Liverpool once and almost had my head chopped off. But yeah, so after the chemo, I think, and during this time as well, I was like an inpatient a couple of times because there was some infections and whatnot. And then after a while, after the two chemos that I had, tumors had shrunk and everything, and they were like, "Yeah, you're pretty good. You're in remission because you never say, as you know, you're not cured. You're in remission." Okay, so can I go back to work? Yeah. So now from May till around October, November, I went back to work maybe a few weeks or so, and it felt really good. My friends, who I'm very thankful for, were, like having fun with me, making jokes and stuff, and that's how I wanted. They're like, "Oh God, you like crap, mates," and singing songs about having one ball and things. And I remember also chatting with some of the guys in Checkham lads as well. I'd never heard the term flatbagger before. The guys who've lost both, and it was the way that we all talk about it, because obviously this is something we can go back to, but obviously the lack of testosterone and everything. But I was back at work in London. I was working in Croydon at the time, and basically I started to get some chest pains and back pains, and I just thought, well, maybe it's because I've not been working for a while. I just feel aches here, aches down the back, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just go back. So I went down for a checkup back in Guy's and St. Thomas's. I'm in remission at this point. I'm like, okay, cool. So what's next? And they're like, well, we've checked your markers, and I think it's LHT, like your tumor markers, have shot up again. I'm like, but we've just had chemo, and you leave hospital, you're told that you're getting better and everything. It's shrank and everything. So they did more scans, and so the cancer at that point had kind of spread to the lymph nodes in the chest and abdomen, I think it is. So okay, now we're going to refer you to Bart's. So I went from Guy's and St. Thomas's over to Bart's, still chatting with you guys, still communicating.
Who was your
I think
doctor at heart, Steve? Was it?
Dr. Shamash,
Yeah, Smash. Yeah,
he's very well known.
he's one of the top guys in the world now. Smash.
Exactly. It's he literally like was responsible as well as many other people that we'll get to of literally saving my life. Like when I was down on death's door, but I got referred to him, a very quiet man, can't look you in the face or anything, very straightforward. I said, right, we're going to try this different kind of chemo. So this was now around December time, I think it was, and the chemo was IPO. That's what that chemo was. Different, completely different kind of chemo, completely different like side effects. One of which was like if ever you touched anything cold, like if you got a cold can out of the fridge, or if you went outside and it was cold, you would you would have any exposed skin would be kind of like permanent, like pins and needles, but very sharp.
Yeah.
I couldn't touch anything cold, couldn't go near the freezer or anything. But obviously, this is December and it's absolutely freezing, so I'm wrapped up like this. You can't feel anything.
I remember,
Um,
sorry, I remember some of the pictures. Yeah, you looked, you didn't look well, mate, did you? I remember you,
hmm.
I remember you showing, sending me a picture and all you could see was your eyes because you were that
I
protecting
had
you
to be,
from cold and germs and stuff.
yeah, exactly. And I have to say, so in between those chemos, obviously your hair falls out and everything. And so when my hair grew back before then, I had long dark hair, and then it came back like really tight grey afro. It was like almost like a bomber hair. It was really tight and everything, and then it fell out again. I'd always joke with the doctors and nurses because before cancer, I could never grow any facial hair. And I was like, right, well, surely when my hair grows back this time, I'm going to get a decent, nice beard. Maybe I'll have, I don't know, ginger curly hair because it can come back as anything or whatever. And no, still got nothing, Phil, nothing at all.
Got a bit.
So yeah, I was really sick with infections, and over Christmas and New Year, 2014/15, I was in hospital um, with infections and everything. And then I came out of that of the IPO, and Dr. Shmash was like, "Okay, that seems to be working." And then so we're now talking quite a few months into this. So now in January, the plan was to harvest some stem cells from myself and have two transplants, one in January and one in April. So, of course, I know what my donor went through because to get the stem cells, it's like a giant needle in one arm. The blood comes out. There's like a centrifuge that pulls out the stem cells in a bag, and then the blood goes back in. But they're giant needles, and it takes a very long time. So they harvested my stem cells in January, and then I had my first stem cell transplant sort of mid-January, I think it was. And that chemo is called top cap chemo. So now, you think chemo's bad. It's called high dose chemo. And I've actually spoke to a friend of ours recently, a guy called Phil, who you put me in touch with, who was going through stem cell treatment. So I was chatting with him about everything recently, and he's just gone through that as well. And that is crazy. If you think chemo's bad, I had to already, as you know. Yeah, I sent you those pictures, and then I was in hospital for 27 days. But with Top Gap high dose chemo, what they do is it's every day for 7 days, so it's a week worth of high dose chemo, and the intention is for it to completely wipe out your immune system, wipe it out completely. You've got nothing, nada, like no neutrophils, no white blood cells at all. Then I think it's around 6 hours. You have stem cells that go back in, and that sort of recreates the white blood cells. So you're kind of getting your immune system reset from scratch. So at this point, we're good. We're okay with the cancer and stuff. The tumors are minimal. Again, I'm back in remission, but I'm in 27 days. I'm in Bart's, Ward 5A, remember it well. And people are visiting, and I'm feeling good, joking about the terrible hospital food and all that kind of stuff. And friends from Stoke are coming, friends from work. Lorna sees me every day, bless her. So for those 27 days, felt really sick and rough. Um, a funny side note: stem cells smell like sweet corn, like not even the good stuff, really cheap tin sweet corn. It absolutely reeks. So I have that done, 27 days, and then I'm out of hospital. I'm obviously still having the injections for the immune system as well, but my immune system was getting up. The counts were going up and up and up. So yeah, at this point they're like, come back in a few months, come back in April. So 10 years this month actually, I went in for my second stem cell transplant. So still feeling weak. The high dose chemo knocks you for six. There's
A bit of, because he's young.
uh, still feeling pretty weak, but I'm still chatting with you guys. I think at that point that's when I went up and met you in between the stem cell transplants. I've got a photo of us actually both. I think you'd gone through some stuff yourself, and big smiles on the faces and everything. And
By the way,
So,
sometimes we're losing a little bit of connection, but it does catch up.
okay, that's cool. So we're still going, yeah?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing photos of you, mate. And I'll be completely honest. I thought you,
Oh, yeah.
even Nick, God bless him, we were discussing going, that's not looking good. Because I've never
Yeah.
ever seen, well, apart from Carl, obviously.
Yeah.
But you looked, I mean, I mean, you weren't a big guy anyway. You
Hmm.
quite a slim guy, but when I saw photos of some of the photos that you sent me, and oh, Jesus, and I'm going, oh, I can't keep at it, mate. And I was thinking, no, just
Everybody was, yeah. Everybody thought the same thing. I was chatting with Ed at this point and everybody, and people who came to visit me were like leaving the hospital going, I don't think he's gonna last. And this was before things got even worse for me and stuff. And I think for that, at the time, I wasn't really thinking about it because the thing is, we told so many people, and Lorna was on the phone to so many people. We just thought the best thing to do would be just to do posts, to let widespread people know. And obviously in the group, sharing the story at the time, and people were like, oh, and this is the thing, everybody on the sidelines, friends and family, I think it can be just as bad for them, if not worse sometimes, because, Lorna turned up every day from work. She worked close to the hospital. And even before going in April for the second stem cell transplant, she would cry her eyes out in the courtyard next to the fountain, dust herself down, come into the ward where I was, and be like, "Okay, come on, you got this." And everyone's, and that's the thing. It's really hard for them. And then I didn't know that. The nurses told me that. She'd come in and be like, "Okay, this," and she would probably cry herself to sleep all the time, because I was in hospital for so long.
yeah, well, mate, just off some topic a bit. I completely agree because when my Laura got
Yeah,
cancer, I was crying my eyes out
yeah.
and taking her to hospital and giving her hugs,
Mhm.
buying her cups of coffee, and listening to the because when you've got cancer, the other person with you usually listens more because we're so
Oh,
yeah.
100%.
I'd put Laura to bed of a night and go downstairs and lie on the floor and cry my eyes out.
Yeah.
And I was saying to God, take me, not her. I mean, it's worse. It's worse looking in. Different emotions and stuff, but it is far worse looking in on someone you love.
Oh,
Actually, have
100%. Yeah. Like I
strange thing, isn't it?
remember,
It's a strange thing.
yeah. So April 16th, 2015. So what are we on? A few days from now, 10 years to the day, I was admitted for my second stem cell transplant. So of course, side effects, you feel like shit, it's wiped out your immune system, and you're like, okay, here we go again. And I was actually admitted to the same ward, set everything, got ready for the same transplant, the same procedure, everything. And I was even joking with the nurses, like, so 27 days last time. Right, okay, let's see if we can beat that. I'm feeling ready to go, kissing the gums, let's go. Lorna's ready. We know what's coming up. So same thing again, the immune system gets wiped out and we're good to go. But obviously things went wrong for that point because the stem cell transplant this time didn't take.
Right.
So my neutrophils did not go up a single bit. Like things were going wrong. So as you know, people can have the same treatments with chemo, and it doesn't always work for people. Somebody can have a really advanced cancer and survive and make it. Somebody close to death like me, and someone can have a cancer and it doesn't work. So for whatever reason, that didn't work. So now at this point, and this is why a certain number is quite significant. I wasn't in hospital for 27 days. I was in hospital for, I don't know if you can see this, but 116 days. I have the tattoo. So I was actually in hospital for 4 months after that. So the reason being is because the stem cells didn't work. Now at this point, I have zero immune system.
Right.
So we're not even talking about the cancer at this point now. We're now talking about infections, sickness, and whatever. So I was transferred to another ward, which was bloody freezing. So it's pretty much like as virus free as you could be. So from 5A to 5D, I was transferred to this ward,
Is that
and
when you
that was,
had the plastic bubbles around you, Clarke? That was
yeah, it's like kind of things like you see in Grey's Anatomy and stuff. People would have to really strip down, wear masks and outfits and stuff because I guess having zero immune system, you could have sneezed on me and that would have been it,
because you were
gone
in like a bubble, weren't you? A plastic bubble.
pretty much. And so now at this point as well, I've lost so much weight because now Dr. Shamash and his team, like now I've got a full team of doctors. I've got hematology, oncology. Everybody's like now panicking because the second transplant was supposed to work. I was supposed to come out the other end and all this kind of stuff. So I was getting infections quite a lot. My weight, and you've seen the worst pictures that I've posted before, not like the ones in December, but I was like a skeleton. I was around 42, 45 kilos, around that. I was losing weight. I was being fed through a tube. They had to feed me with an NGL tube because I was just rapidly losing weight. I think at one point, not only did I have a catheter, I had like tubes coming out of my back because my there was fluid, like flooding my lungs and stuff. And I think for the most part of those 116 days, I didn't leave that room unless it was for X-rays or scans, CT scans. I had all the lines too, as you know, like I had the PIC line, central line, the Hickman line, which is the one that goes all the way into your heart. You kind of got this like
Yeah.
thing hanging out your chest. Um, which as well, if people are listening and if anyone recommends that you have a Hickman line, you do have surgery for it, but it's great. It's like a tap, you can take blood out, put stuff in it. I really recommend the Hickman line. But yeah, I was rapidly losing weight. I had like a syringe driver, so I was on morphine
Yeah.
24 hours a day because it's something that I haven't spoken to anyone else who's kind of been at this point, but I've never experienced pain like that in my entire life where you're on 24 hours of morphine and you're still pressing the buzzer to get more painkillers. I don't think I slept for days.
What sort of pain was it, Rongy? As
It was
in,
a lot of bone pain. I mean, like I say, I had tubes coming out of my back, so I couldn't really sleep properly or anything. I was in this weird bubble, like attached to so many things. It was a lot of deep bone pain. So similar to the
yeah,
injections in the stomach, but it was constant. Like it was kind of
on the whole
feels weird
body,
talking about it.
the whole.
Yeah, it was like someone had like poured petrol over my bones and set it on fire. It was like a constant sharp pain, but it was from head to toe, like everywhere. It wouldn't go away. And I'm not ashamed to say either, because this is an open and honest thing. During those 4 months, I think there was 1 month where I didn't leave the bed, and I was so weak that I couldn't make it to the toilet. You know, this close, just off camera here. That I would shit myself and piss myself basically for a whole month. And the nurses, God bless them, would come in every day after I pushed the buzzer, clean me up and everything. And these are things that I don't really think I've mentioned it before, to be honest, because it's behind closed doors. But yeah, and Lorna would come again. You'd throw these 116 days and just be the most positive person ever. Um, and then I think I went quiet on socials. I think our chat went a bit quiet and stuff because Lorna was too upset to talk to anybody. I wasn't posting anything anymore. I think the last pictures were of me, so everyone was like, "Oh, he's gone." Like, there's no way he's not coming back from like this.
I thought that, mate.
Uh, yeah,
Because you
and
were, you were,
so
you were sort of, you were like orange coloured as well, weren't you? Orange and like a
yeah,
skeleton. You had tubes in your nose. And I remember someone sent me a picture. I don't know who sent. Might have been. Don't know.
hmm,
Them actually lifting you out the bed, and I thought that's not wrongy. Surely that's not wrongy because
no,
you were a skeleton with tubes and.
yeah, I was bright orange.
I
I
remember
think,
thinking actually. I remember thinking, oh, he's a tough bugger, then. Tough bugger. 'Cause I used to whinge about having EP and BEP and all that. I
oh
thought
yeah,
I'm never whinging again.
there were a few people that said that, and obviously we should never ever really compare. But yeah, like I think that picture went out, and I was being carried, and it was just like yeah. And at the time, Dr. Smash the Genius and everybody else, they were looking for, well, like, what can we do? So now the hunt was for a stem cell donor.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this at the time. I'm chewed up. I'm being fed, as you know. I look absolutely terrible. I look bloody. I'm skeletal. I'm bright orange. I'm full of tubes and everything. So they spoke to Lorna, obviously, because she was the next of kin, and took her to one side and like, right, now we're going to try and find a donor. And this was through the Anthony Nolan charity, who,
Yeah.
like, register and stuff. So I didn't know at the time, but during sort of, this is maybe month 3 of being in hospital before the donor was found. They said to Lorna, like, if we don't find anyone, like, in the next week or so, like, that's it. You're gonna have to make the call to friends and family. Like, that's it. Like, because I still had no immune system. They were trying their best, to keep me safe from infections. I'm like, I think I'm around 80, so I was around half my body weight now. And like I say, I was never a big lad anyway. I've got this skinny dad bod going on now at the moment, but yeah, so I lost even more weight. And so they told her, like, if we don't find anybody, we're just telling you now that you may have to make the call to Steve's mom and brother, to your friend, to people who want to come down. And because, they were keeping me as comfortable as possible, right? So,
Yeah.
and then I was drifting in and out of consciousness, to be honest, like, not so much a coma per se, but yeah, just in and out. I couldn't remember. I was having these vivid dreams. I'm still on morphine at some point, which they actually took me off to. So in and out of whatever sleep was. I don't think I did sleep. And then during this time, they found a donor, found this guy from Leeds. And usually, as far as I'm aware, when they found a donor, like, right, you're a match, come down, we'll harvest your stem cells as they harvested mine. We'll get them prepped with high dose chemo, the top cap chemo, and then we'll apply your stem cells. Same kind of thing, but with someone else's cells. Usually you kind of take it. He pretty much got the call and said, get your ass down to London as soon as you can. We need your stem cells. This guy is like desperate for them. So again, a third round, three is the magic number for me at least, of high dose top cap chemo. This guy, Sam from Leeds, that's all I know about him. His stem cells were transferred, and then I was drifting in and out again. And the most pivotal moment of probably my life throughout this whole thing, and we're getting close to the end of this. I woke up in bed with all my tubes and stuff. Like, Nick, of course, was there. He became like my hospital dad, Nick O'Hara Smith. Like, he came a lot of the times, and he actually recorded a lot of it. There's a lot of footage of this because we were planning to release it and stuff and do something with you guys. He was there, Lorna was there, maybe 4 or 5 nurses around my bed. And I woke up just like, you know, like I just had a nap or something, but I woke up from this stem cell transplant. All the nurses were crying, Lorna's crying, Nick's crying, and everybody. And the first thing I said was, "What's up? Has somebody died?" And they were like, "Yeah, nearly you, you bloody idiot." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, because the blood tests at that point had revealed that I had some neutrophils. So the stem cell donor transplant had worked.
Yeah.
But I was still underweight, had a nutrition. So I was probably in the hospital for another month trying to put weight on and everything. And, now I've got hematology and Dr. Shamash and all these doctors around me. So now we're probably in July, August, I think it is. So the end of these 116 days. So after that, I was allowed to go home. But first of all, I had to prove that I could walk up some stairs. I had to prove that I could do all of these things. So I actually got out of hospital 116 days later, back to Southeast London. Um, and you couldn't, the door was always open for visitors and everything. It was really nice. And again, friends from Stoke would turn up and visit me and, God, Steve, you look terrible. You look like a bag of shit. And I'd be like, okay, very funny. And then there was another 2 years of like procedures and medication. I was on cyclosporin because when you have a stem cell transplant, as the other Phil will probably tell you now, there's a risk then of a thing called graft versus host. So because you have stem cells from somebody
Yeah.
else in your body, yeah, they they might attack you and kill you. So I'm like, bloody hell, I'm tired at this point, and there's more risk of death and everything. And I saw you again. We chatted a hell of a lot because I think even during that time, I think weren't you know, you were going through some stuff too, and I think Laura was sick and all the people were sick, and it's
Yeah,
crazy that
yeah, mine came back. I had just so people know,
yeah,
mine came back 2015, I think, and it was uh,
yeah,
I had 6 golf ball tumors behind my stomach.
I remember.
Luckily, I went on EP and I was fine. Never had to go down that road where you went. Yeah,
But yeah, there's a long road to recovery. I had to learn how to walk again. I had this little book, which was day one, walk up one step, day two, walk. And like with that picture that you said that you saw, Lorna would literally pick me up, put me in the bathtub, have a shower and stuff like this, And a couple of times I was rushed to hospital because I was still so weak, I'd pass out, or like an idiot, I'd try and get to the kitchen or something, and Lauren would find me like unconscious on the floor because I was so weak. It was that whole stubbornness, that male pride of, oh, I should be doing all this, and I'm back home and I'm better. And the other thing as well is, as you know, and we always encourage people to check their testicles. And I just want to take a moment for people to say to people of all the work that you do, it's not just going through recovery and going through the chemo. It's actually encouraging people just to check, because I've known a few people that checked and found a lump, and people have messaged me because, like you, I wanted to give some back. So I was in the forums a lot of the time, and I've been there, got the t-shirt and everything, and so you help other people. But I would definitely encourage women, if they find a lump in their breast, just please check, because a lot of the guys are like, well, I'm not going to me doctors and dropping me pants. What if it's a man? What if a man wants to touch me balls and find, well, it's going to save your life. It makes the difference between stages of chemo. And as you know, if cancer, you're an advocate for this. So, and it's Testicular Awareness Month. And I think that's why, two reasons: because of the month it is, because of how much I respect you and the charity, I wanted to have this conversation with you. And it's quite a big moment for me because it's literally a decade
yeah.
almost to the day since got diagnosed, since I went in and all that. So yeah,
So what's unusual though, wrong is it's very, very rare for pure salmonella to get that bad. See,
yeah,
it's non-salmonella, yeah, the very, very aggressive one. And Louis, like Louis on stem cell at the minute, and
yeah.
it's very unusual for pure salmonella to get that advanced. So you're a rare case, mate, to be honest. I mean, you're very
Well,
most almost 99% of stage, and there isn't very many stage 3 pure salmonellas. It's usually stage 2,
yeah.
but it's still very rare for it to for salmonella to get up there. It's usually because it's such a slow cancer. But I remember yours was being particularly fast. But like Professor Clarke said to me, he says, Phil, well, Professor Clarke was my doctor and he's like the head of NICE now. He always says, Phil, you know a lot, but you've forgotten something about what he goes, there's no rules. There are no rules. There's probabilities, but there's no rules.
And that's the thing why people always go, oh, it's never this bad, or mine's completely, it's everything's completely different from even
Yeah,
from testicular cancer, as you know, and everything. So now I reached out to Anthony Nolan after, because it's 2 years. You have to have this medication for 2 years because you still might die. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, am I out the woods yet? No. Um, so I reached out to Anthony Nolan and said that I wanted to get in contact with my donor or whatever, because it's the recipient that has to, get in touch or whatever. So
yeah, sure.
I sent an email. It was passed on to him. He was like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't think I want to meet this guy. It might be a bit awkward." Because at the time, I was like, "I have to meet this guy." You see these videos of people with
Yeah,
transplants and things, and they're standing together, like side by side or whatever. So he didn't want to, but he wrote a note, and this is the note that I've posted it many, many times, and it just says, to my stem cell recipient, pretty much. I'm riffing now, but it's like, I'm glad that you survived. Live every day like like you. This is like a reset for you, basically. Live your life to the fullest. And it just said your donor. It didn't even say Sam, just said your donor. I was like, and I still have the piece of paper locked away somewhere safe. And that was,
Well, God bless you, Sam.
yeah. And this is why and how I ended up traveling because, since then, so Laura and I, we got married. She won't mind me sort of saying this, but we were married straight afterwards. And, you do the whole till death do you part and sickness and then health. And we looked at each other and went, well, we've pretty much done all of that. Nearly died, tick. Sickness and health, tick, tick, tick. All of these things. But yeah, so and I'm sure a lot of people will relate to this, but when you come out the other end of stuff like this, your mind is racing. Like I wanted to go traveling, I wanted to jump across mountains, I wanted to swim ocean, all of this kind of cliched stuff. And my body was like, nope, you can't even make it down to the nearest cafe for an English breakfast. How do you expect, all of these things? So I went through a bout of depression with that too. And I know there's a video on with Check as it did it that's out there and stuff. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch. Like you're out of the woods, but you just feel like you still feel bad. Like don't get me wrong, I'm super grateful. Like to a point, technically or clinically speaking, I should not have survived any of this, but I did. And so I wanted to do all these things. Excuse me. But then, kind of at that point, Lorna and I went our separate ways because the thing that I kind of forgot was she was there and witnessed the whole thing. You've witnessed the same thing with Laura. She's witnessed it with you, and
Yeah.
see someone that you love almost literally die right before your eyes and not being able to do anything about it, knowing that you can't. Obviously, not everybody's medically trained. She was became a bit more reserved, and just wanted to let's get the house together. Let's just go on vacation. I don't want, let's just play it safe. Because of course you still worry about your loved ones and everything. So, and again, I had to learn how to walk again. So we kind of went separate ways. But she's my best friend. We both have partners now and everything, just to put that out there, and she will always be my best friend because we went through so much together, you go through that whole thing and she had like
Yeah.
a couple of mental breakdowns actually at work and stuff. So we're in touch, we're best friends and everything. And the whole reason behind this, and of course, the other thing that I forgot to mention that I did a year after I was released from hospital, we all went up Snowdon together with Checkham lads and everybody.
That's right. Did you come?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I came. So there's me, you, Mick,
Is that
Catherine
when,
Twin,
is that when the TV,
Ryan.
that when the TV crew came with the TV turned up? Do you remember? Was it that one?
Mm,
Just who was it? Surprise,
yeah,
surprise, Terry. Was that the one?
yeah, they came
Oh,
out and got you because there was like Mick Riley there, the Cashman, obviously Colin. I met so many because that's the first time I'd met apart from you and Ed Sully. That's the first time I met all of the other survivors and stuff. Like right, like everybody was together because you did a bit. You grabbed me to one side and made the speech about this bugger here.
oh, yeah, no, I remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
remember.
guy here could be alive and stuff. So a year later, we did Snowden, and then and this is why to the people watching and listening, why yourself and other people call me Wrongy and Wrongpop. So Wrongpop was a gig promotion and record label that I used to do in Stoke, and I took it down to London. So I released an album, a compilation album, online for Checkham Lads
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
on Wrongpop Records, just to raise some money and awareness and stuff like that. And it did fairly well, and a lot of people knew about it. So
Yeah, I
people
remember that.
wondering why what Wrongpop is. Wrongpop is the record label slash gig promotions I did. So I did that, and I'm actually planning a little something that'll be revealed soon enough for 10 years. Like I say, it's a celebration of 10 years of being alive, 10 years of not supposed to have been alive and everything. And
You
like I
got,
said,
I do apologise for not remembering that, but I was still just coming off my chemo as well, remember, and a lot of
well,
it was,
listen, exactly.
it
I,
was,
I remember
it was,
that well
it was
because
strange, Rongy, because I was, I'm the guy who does Tesla Cancer UK and check on it, but because everybody knew me, not you by the way, because I remember you asking me if it was all right. I went on my chemo again, and then people thought I'd finished my chemo and be back to doing all this, but I still had the recovery, and a lot of people thought I was, what's up with Phil? He's ignoring me. Oh, I've got to get better. So sort of a lot of that time I can't remember a lot about it. So yeah, I remember that the wrong yeah. Because, by the way, something like me, I always remember, right? Because you're a musician, yeah. You play
Yeah.
bass guitar and you've been in bands and stuff. And I'm a drummer, and I've played in bands and stuff. And I remember I posted a video of me playing drums, and you remember going, "Bloody hell, I didn't realise you were that good."
I know. I was like, you kept that one quiet, didn't you? I was like, well, that's the thing. I've been in bands for 20 years and can't play for anything. So that's why you'll never see most of me online. But I remember because also there was a time when we all met together in a pub somewhere and Steve White was there too, who's a close friend of yours.
Ah, yeah, that was
Uh,
South London, Eltham.
yeah.
It's got
And I
some of
met,
the local London lads in there, didn't I? And
sorry,
Steve
and I
White, the
met,
legend. He's the reason. Steve White, by the way, people who don't know, Steve White was the drummer for the Style Council and Paul Weller for years and years and years, whose brother was in Oasis, Alan White. Now, he was the reason I do what I do. And because when I was on my first chemo, and I was pretty sick on that, he invited me because I play the drums at, I used to go to his drum clinics, and he invited me to backstage at a Paul Weller gig when I was bald and weak and that. And I said, God, I wish I had someone to talk to who'd been through it. And he said, sort it out, mate. Do something about it. Make sure nobody else goes through what you do. And within, I think, 3 months, he got some money together and put
Mhm.
me in touch with a web designer. And that's how Checkham Lads was started. So Steve White, by the way, everyone, he started all this. Or helped start it, if you get me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But power to that guy and to you, like I say, because having a place for people to go to and talk to, there's so much good and it's so underrated for people because a lot of people, especially in men, like I said, it's not just a case of dropping your pants like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't fine. I was not fine at all. I was bawling my eye. I was really, really trying to pull yourself together because, like I say, when people are, you doing, you got this, you're fine, and it's a cliche thing. But what else can people do sometimes? You know, there were people that would come and visit me and be like, yeah, like Lorna did every day, and then they literally come out of the ward and be like, oh Jesus, oh my God, I can't, I don't want to go and see that again. But you know, game face and whatever. And I remember in one instance we were outpatients, me and a guy waiting to go in for chemo together, drinking cans of pop in Bart's, and there was a lady, a Jamaican lady, whose son had passed away, and he'd passed away because basically he didn't want to tell his family or scare them, and his cancer got so advanced that when he went into hospital, he'd passed. So she came in to like talk or whatever, and I remember she turned around, smacked this kind of pop out my hands, and looked at me, and she said, "No, no, 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 no. Science won't help you. Doctors won't help you." And I remember this. It's to this day. She told me and my friend to go home, eat kale, and pray to Jesus. And that was, I was like, okay, you're going through a hard time. I'm gonna leave this. Like, but this other guy just ripped to a new one, and I thought that was pretty cool. But you see people on the other side, your friends, your family, and everybody, and it's such a whole thing. And I'm not religious, for example, but so many friends were lighting candles for me and going to church for me. I'm like, hey, if that helps you, then that's it. But
Yeah, yeah,
there were wives of people and mothers and brothers and sisters of that from Checkham lads that also helped Lorna and chatted with her. Like, well, you know, I used to go see my partner and everything, and that goes on to like trying to give something back. I ended up working for a homeless charity for like 4 years because I wanted to do something, and then the whole thing with the 116 was, as you know, 2023. I was like, screw this, I'm going to go traveling. I had no idea what I was going to do, where I was going to go, but I ended up in Brazil, and I wanted to match. All I wanted to do, Phil, was travel somewhere and match the 116 days in hospital with 116 days traveling. I didn't care where it was. So I think I got to Brazil, went through into Uruguay and Paraguay, into Argentina, and my phone went off. 116 days. I was like, get in. So I posted. I was like, all right, everybody, I've done it. I've done 116 days from being in hospital, nearly dying, to traveling. And everyone's like, all right, then we'll throw a party when you get back. And then I looked at the map and I went, ah.
carry on.
So then I did Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, in Venezuela. So I ended up doing 404. I was out for 14 months traveling and came back after
You're like a
440.
Michael Palin. Yeah? You're a Michael Palin.
This was it, man. I was a big, still I'm a big fan of Anthony Bourdain, and when I was sick, I was like looking into his travel programs and stuff, and I really liked that renegade sort of vibe that he had. And then I didn't actually realize until I told someone when I got back to London last year. I was like, yeah, 14 months traveling. They're like, you do realize that your whole cancer ordeal was 14 months as well. I
Yeah.
was like, no way. So I actually spent from diagnosis to leaving hospital August 1st, 2015, traveling. So I've got a new lease of life, as you know, as you've seen from my posts. And now I'm living in South America. If you'd have told me this, I'd have told you, you know, pun
What,
intended. Bollocks.
what's kept you in Ecuador? What's keeping you there?
So traveling South America was a big experience, and I actually had a couple of near-death experiences when I
Wrong
messed up with some hiking and stuff like that. So me and Death have got this thing going on where we play this game, and it's like I'm just like I'm not ready yet. Will you just bugger off and take someone else or whatever? But all these places were beautiful, but I just fell in love with Ecuador because I didn't know anything about it, and like many places, people say, "Oh, it's too dangerous. You shouldn't go there." And I met an Ecuadorian girl in Bolivia, and she gave me a list of a small country. You've got the Galapagos Islands, you've got the Amazon, and then I
that
went
where
to
is that where the Galapagos Islands are, Ecuador?
yeah.
Right, I was
I
trying to film about that, right?
didn't know myself either. I haven't been yet, but went to the Amazon. It was amazing. And then 2023, I went to a place called Cotopaxi, this hostel, and it's 2 hours from here, pretty much from Quito in the city. But basically, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded by volcanoes. It's absolutely amazing. There's no Wi-Fi or anything. You're in the middle of the mountains. I just fell in love with the place. It's one
Right.
of to this day, it's my favorite place in the world. So I went back. I was supposed to go to Colombia, but then I stayed there. So last year I came back and worked there for 4 months because I just wanted to be there. Um, yeah, so I'm still in Ecuador, and obviously I've met somebody now again, and this is the first time I felt happy with somebody, with a partner or anybody since being married and everything. So
You learning to speak Spanish?
trying my best, dude. It's really I can understand pretty well, and I'm not going to embarrass myself on this video now by attempting to speak it. But my God, trying to learn. But I live with Carrie and a girlfriend, so
Yeah.
I should be fluent in a few months. But yeah, like I say, if you'd have told me I'd have traveled almost all of South America and then come back to live here for a while and want to live here, I'd have said nah, no, pun intended, mate. I would have said bollocks, like no
Yeah.
chance. But it's because of that why I have a new lease of life. Like you say, having a near death experience changes everything. And then actually, I came out of hospital 2015, and then 4 years later, my mum passed away from brain cancer.
So,
Um, and that as well is something that not only hits you hard anyway. We've lost loved ones. We've lost Nick, we've lost Carl, and friends as well. But when I lost my mom, that hit me really hard because for me, having a near death experience, being given 2 weeks to live, like yourself, everybody's like, he's gone. To come out the other end of something that clinically really I shouldn't have, but I did, and then to lose like a parent to something that you kind of a different version, but you come out the other end, that ruined me. And even sometimes to this day, it's like it was 5 years last this December just gone. It's like survivor's guilt. We feel it when we lose friends as well. It's
yeah,
really a difficult thing. Yeah. So
it's,
there's that too.
I've had
Yeah.
it a few times, with Carl, and
Yeah.
mostly because me and Carl were back on chemo at the same time. And
Exactly.
as you know, I got so close with Carl. And yeah, and I'm still here, and he passed away, when survivor's guilt for a while. I still do to a certain point but I know for a fact that he'd punch me if I could speak to him and said,
He would. Cole would definitely have a word with you.
I said, Carl, if he's in heaven or whatever,
Yeah,
I've got survivors guilt. I know damn well he'd give me a smack in the mouth, you know.
yeah. He put those boxing gloves on again from that video you made and smack you in the chops. And
Yeah.
you know the
Yeah.
thing, because I speak with Carrie about this a lot as well.
It's strange.
Whether you believe someone's up there. I think my mum would be really proud of me now. Because not
Oh, yeah,
only
definitely would.
have I travelled South America on my own, I found somebody, like I'm living here now, and because it's 10 years, so there's a book. I'm writing a book about the whole cancer thing and traveling as well. That's something I'm working on. I've been doing I did a thing that I wanted to do for a while, like not a it's not a podcast, it's a monologue. It's basically me talking, so a bit like this, but just me. So I've put a few things out there too, and I've been having this interview with you, recording those like monologues and stuff from the wrongpop and the book and everything. Not only is it lethargic, but I think people need to hear from people like you. And so these collection of interviews that you've done, like Ed Solly will always be a legend to me because he took me to my first chemo.
Yeah.
I remember Ryan, actually seeing Ryan. I think Ryan did an interview once on ITV or something. He was on the telly talking about it. I'm like, these. I saw a video that he posted as well when he proposed, and he said he didn't think he'd ever get to that point. And now he's got kids and he's married. I'm living in Ecuador, and
I love Ryan. I love Ryan.
he's.
He's a very, very dear, close mate.
I'm sure he'll
Sometimes,
see this as well
sometimes I want
too.
to slap him, you know. He's because he's funny. He's too good looking. That's why I want to slap him. But
Yeah, big love to you, Ryan. Why are you so good looking, eh? But yeah, like you say with Cole, that was a loss. And for me, I think losing Nick was big because he would come as well. He'd always flirt with the nurses and stuff, but he got quite close to my mom, and he didn't have to. But like many people from your group got in touch with my mom as well, my brother, because when they were looking for a donor, they test your family first.
yeah,
It's got to be like 99.999. It's got to be an almost perfect match. And my mom and brother at the time, they weren't matches. And
yeah,
then they felt guilty because they didn't match. And then that's when they found this guy and stuff like this. And I actually emailed my donor. I should actually get in touch with him again. We just email each other. We don't have each other's Instagram or WhatsApp. We put it there. But yeah, I sent him pictures of me on top of mountains and volcanoes, surfing in like Chile, and here's me in the jungle, Sam. He's like, and he just kind of very cool and calm and collected. He goes, "Oh, that's really nice. Let's stay in touch." He's so just calm about it all. It's not like, I'm a hero. I saved your life. He knows the consequences. He knows he got that call and he's just really nice. And I think I'm glad we didn't
yeah.
meet.
God bless him.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you think it's. I mean, we haven't got much long left, but just tell people why they should go to the Anti-Nolan Trust and volunteer to do stem cells or that procedure.
Yeah, so basically, it's kind of like being on a blood register. You think you have to be under a certain age or whatever, but also the reason is because of this, because I'm here for that sole reason that a donor was found. And basically, you're on a register, people will get in touch with you, but it literally saves and changes lives. And I wouldn't be here without it. So obviously, I'm an advocate for that because
God bless you.
you go through that procedure and everything to donate the cells, but you're literally going to be a game changer. Now, of course, like I'm a white dude and stuff. I'm a Caucasian male, so it would be easy, but it's quite difficult for people that are mixed race as well. Like if you're sort of Asian or if you're black or if you're even more mixed, it gets even harder to go down there to find people. So
Right.
your ethnicity or anything like that, wherever you come from or your background, none of it matters because if you just put yourself on that, and also donating blood, something as simple as that. In the meantime, I was getting blood transfusions, and those blood transfusions were keeping me alive as well. So I, wholeheartedly would ask people to donate blood if they can. I can't now. I can't even give me organs away, Philly. They're all ruined.
None of us can though. Yeah.
No, exactly.
I'm surprised your shows are still working, to be honest.
Well, that's it. But if you can give blood or put yourself on the register, it literally would save lives. And I've been chatting with them recently as well. Like, I want to put that out there. But having groups like yours, and please don't be like, don't let male pride get in the way. If you find something, get it checked out. Because if you don't, it'll progress, it'll get worse, and it could save your life. So I'm down for that, man.
I think, Ronnie, I do lots of talks to schools and stuff and universities. And I think men, I mean, I'm a bit older than you, but I think younger men are more in touch with their health and
Definitely.
not being shy. Because one of the things we do I do talks to sixth formers, a lot of sixth formers across the country. And people don't know I do this, but I'll tell you now, because I like to keep it my little secret so no one else nicks it. But
Oh yeah.
if I've got 36 form lads, I say, have you got your GP's number on the phone? And none of them have. And I go, Google your GP. And I can hear them clicking away. Got the number? Save it to your phone. And they all save it to the phone. And I go, you're an adult now. And if anything's wrong, that's the first. And I actually teach them not to be shy in front of a doctor. I teach them how to go in there. And I actually say, when you walk out when the first time you go to a GP by yourself, as a young adult, you'll walk out there and think, I've just done that by myself. And they sort of go, oh, okay, yeah. So I think more, I mean, me and you were old school, mate, we're 80s and
Yeah.
chat where you don't talk about anything. I mean, all we do is disagree about music and stuff, innit? But it's I think younger men, I've noticed more men are
There is
more,
a change for sure. Yeah.
not as much as
'Cause
I'd like,
yeah.
but we'll get there.
Well, that's the thing. There were people in my age group who were saying, like, look, I'm going through this. And I remember being in Stoke-on-Trent with my two housemates, Joe and Dan, and an advert, this is way back in the day, like 90s or whatever, and it said, like, 1 out of 3 people will get cancer. And the three of us looked at each other and went, well, that's one of us that's ruined then, isn't it? As a joke. And it turns out it was me, but the odds increase and everything. But yeah, I do see kids are more aware and stuff. They call it woke, but it's just being more aware, isn't it? And doing that. And I came out of the GP going, just did that, I was outside because I actually smoked for a while, even through the surgery, until they turned around to me and said, we're not giving you chemo. I went, okay. So how did you quit smoking? I got cancer, you know. Um, but yeah, wanted to have this conversation with you, do this thing for you, put it out there because of the 10-year anniversary of being alive, because of the way that you helped me. I wanted to talk to you more than anybody.
That's flown on it, 10 years. Because me and you go off each other's radars a lot because you travel and I'm busy and uh,
Yeah.
now and then you'll pop up, all right, mate, and all that. And which is the same with a lot of people that I know of this sort of, I mean, Ed Solly, I'll see him once a year because I come to London to do the treatment of the collar watch and he meets me for a beer the night before, and I'm meeting him again in a couple of weeks actually. But
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
but it's been great to talk to you on it. I mean, I'll be honest with you now. I thought you were going to be a goner, mate. I really when you I saw them pictures and Nick was telling me because obviously Nick was keeping me informed. God bless him.
Yeah.
And even he was going, this isn't well, Phil. This is not good at all. You should see the state of him. And of course, for pure seminarians to get that far, it's new to me, because most pure seminarians are round a bet, 3 rounds of bet done, you know.
Well, that was it. Yeah. But I think as well, like the whole point of having this conversation with you is that you can somehow come out the other end of it, and this is probably going to sound to a few people like a horror story and scare a few people, but me and you are having this conversation as survivors to let people know that there's people out there like your charity that are there for awareness and the things that you do with the tours and everything, especially with young people as you do. It's not only making people aware, but just letting them know that there's other people that have been through it, are going through it, or seeing someone go through it. And that, to me, you guys did more for me than you'll ever know. And I've told you this to your face, but I'm just saying this for other people that they should definitely support your charity and stuff because of the work that you do. The MBE.
Wrong, yeah, I just try and be human.
Yeah, I know.
Not
Well, good.
a bank. I mean, charity to me these days, the charity's the new banking. And I just want to, if you look up in the dictionary, charity, it's basically to help people. So,
No,
as you
but
know,
you
mate,
did.
I've never been a money chaser. If it was in it for the money, mate, I would have given it in years ago, years ago. But
Well,
no,
it's
don't get me
good.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's more awareness out there. There's some great charities. There's some good people about. But I mean, you said this story might scare someone, yeah, but maybe it might scare them into checking.
Well,
Check.
this is the thing. That's why I wanted to be open and brutally honest about it because I kind of feel like that happened within a week. Found the lump, GP, bloods, you got cancer. 1 week later, it's gone. Oh, they take out the tumor, the testicle and stuff. So in a week, it was done. I always think in hindsight, had I left it because apparently it was so big and advanced, I might not even have made it through the chemo. And this is the thing: if people don't get it checked and everything, and like I say, you're an advocate for checking testosterone levels too, and I've seen what you've been doing at the moment, and not a lot of people think about that either. You know,
We'll
your
get there.
levels, and
We'll get there with that. It's just, I'm into the stage of blackmailing people now, so I'll keep you informed.
you've got a white van with people ready to kidnap. Let's go. Come with me.
Well, no, we'll talk about that today, but yeah, it's as I'm just trying to carry on what Nick started because it's true. There are lads out there who've had testicular cancer at the age of 30, can't get hard on, are depressed, are putting weight on, the family breakups, have got no confidence because they're reading people's testosterone scores. I'm not saying, hang on, your testo is a little bit low for your age. You've had testicular cancer and you've got other symptoms. Maybe you've got testosterone deficiency. They're just saying, here's some antidepressants. It's because you've had cancer. They're using scores on not actually how you feel. And a man knows when he doesn't feel like a man anymore. A man at 30 all of a sudden feels 80 within 3 months of having
Oh,
cancer. It's probably something to do with the hormones.
well,
Just
there you go.
basic common sense, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, my libido what didn't even exist after that. I didn't have a sex drive or anything, and then depression kicks in because you feel less of a man and all that. And so yeah, so 10 years later now, because of my situation, and this won't be the same for most people, but I'm actually coming back to London in July for checkups. So I'm on checkups for life and stuff with my oncology and hematology because it's such a rare thing to have happened and to have this stem cell treatment and stuff. So I'm coming back. I'm getting venisections done. So obviously my ferret through all blood transfusions, my ferritin levels are too high. So I'm still being checked out even 10 years later. But because, as you've said yourself, it's such a rare situation from testicular cancer to have advanced and to have made it like this, and then for the stem cell transplant not to have worked, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 weeks to live, and now I'm sitting here in my gaff in Ecuador in South America chatting away. So
You're looking very, you're looking at that. That's the best I've ever seen you. You're the healthiest. You're looking well, mate. I mean, you've got spark in you. You
I'm,
look, if you don't mind me saying, sometimes wouldn't have long as known you, you were a bit all over the place sometimes. But as we all can get, it's not a criticism, but this is
no,
the
no, yeah.
this is the best I've seen you, mate.
I mean, after Snowden, I ran half marathons around Europe and stuff like that. I joined a running group, and now, as you know, as you've seen, I'm summiting volcanoes and climbing mountains now. If you'd have told me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, so now I'm doing all of these things that I never thought I would have done. And as I said, I'll quote myself in this interview. I told you I wanted to do mountains and I wanted to do, and this is 2015.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you did Snowed, you went, "Oh, that was all right. I'd like to do more of that." And now look at you.
So I'm actually going to summit a few volcanoes next month, and then hopefully either now or when I come back in January, there's a volcano with my name on it called Chimborazo, and it's actually the closest point to the sun. So it's not the highest volcano, but because of the shape of the Earth or whatever, it's the closest point. And I tried. 2023, and they didn't make it up there. So
Uh,
yeah, going from not being able to walk up the stairs to trying to get to the closest point to the sun. That's my aim now.
well, I think having said that, we'll call it a day here.
Yeah,
But before we prattle on too much, and let's think about what you just said when you couldn't make up the stairs, and now you're up volcanoes. That's amazing. But wrong, you have to keep in touch. Um,
no, please. Yeah,
I'm glad you're happy, and I'm glad you got a big smile on your face because I know sometimes both of us struggle with it sometimes. But
yeah,
uh, and we'll keep in touch. But fuck, 10 years, it's flown, hasn't it? And we've lost some friends on the way, but you're looking well, mate.
that's it, man.
Well, yeah, if anybody's watching this, and I know you're going to share it, and I'll send you a copy of it. I'm also going
Yeah,
to put some of Rongy's links in the description below if you want to keep in touch with him. But remember, everyone, uh, if I can just be blunt, testicular cancer can get very, very nasty. And when they say it's the one to have, it maybe is, but it can be a long journey for a lot of people. I thought I had it bad, but then you see, obviously, what with Rongy there and Carl and Louise, you might see
yeah,
Louise going
third.
for stem cell at the minute, and Spray's okay. But yeah, Rongy, we'll keep in touch. When I press stop recording now, it will kick off. But yeah, I'll put the links to Rongy. It's nice to speak to you, mate.
Absolute pleasure,
Uh,
man. You're a legend, sir.
in touch with me, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, Chief.
Hey, bud.